Hey guys, hope you're having a good week. Appreciate you tuning back in with us here at AMP on our year-long Bible study of A Year in the Red. A look at the parables that Jesus taught. We're going to be looking at another parable this week. The parable is found in Luke chapter 13, verses 6 through 9. And it's the parable of a fig tree. For some reason, Jesus, as he was talking about, followers, and he was comparing, people that followed God, he talked a lot about producing fruit and compared us a lot to trees. So no different here, I guess. So let's go ahead and read it, and then we'll sort of discuss it a little. In Luke chapter 13, verse 6, Jesus says, he also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Then he said to the keeper of his vineyard, "Look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this tree and found none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground?" But he answered and said to him, "Sir, let it alone this year also until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well, if not, after that you can cut it down." Whenever I was first reading this, I'm thinking, wow, Jesus put a time limit. It's like Jesus saying, hey, listen, if I plant a tree in this particular area and it doesn't bear any fruit, then we're going to show up, we're going to cut it down. If you read earlier, whenever John the Baptist is talking about, and he talks about the fact when Jesus is coming, and there's a spot where John the Baptist actually says, and the axe is to the root of the tree, because he was talking about people not producing fruit. Interesting thing about fig trees, whenever I started looking around this, is Jesus talks about this person that had a vineyard, and around the outside of the vineyard, this guy had planted fig trees. Whenever I started looking at fig trees, I found out that they produce fruit 10 months out of the year. It's something that a farmer or someone that had a vineyard could pretty much depend on those figs, everything to, I don't know, I guess make preserves, make fig jelly, not really sure, but what happens is they were using that fruit. And so it would also take time for that tree to actually grow and mature to produce fruit. The average time would have been about 3 years. So all of a sudden Jesus is talking to some people, and he's talking to them in a language they understood. I mean, planting vineyards, fig trees, it was something they saw right around them. And Jesus said it's just like a man who had a vineyard that had a fig tree, and he planted it and gave it the ample amount of time that it was supposed to start producing fruit. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And then everyone there knew, listen, if you have a fig tree and it doesn't produce fruit after 3 years, that the natural thing for the farmer to do was just cut it down and destroy it because it was no good. Something might have happened to the tree. So what he was talking to them was in a language that a farmer or someone in their time might really know, that, you're right, Jesus, that's exactly what would happen. If the fig tree wasn't producing fruit, we'd cut it down and burn it. And so then there was an act of compassion that took place with this guy that owned this vineyard. The guy who was taking care of the vineyard for the vineyard owner, he says, hey, in verse 8, he said, he answered him and said, "Sir, can you let it alone for just 1 more year? And what I'll do is I'll dig around it and I'll fertilize it and I'll take care of it and see if it'll produce fruit. Just give me 1 more year." And then he said, and then the person taking care of the vineyard said, "And if it bears fruit, well, but if not, then you can cut it down." Whenever you start looking at this and you start thinking about the whole vineyard and you start thinking about the fig tree, my question is, how's that compared to my life? There's a couple of things that I would throw in there, and that is that the fig tree had a responsibility. It was created to do something. It was created to produce fruit. And as it was there, and the person that was supposed to be taking care of it recognized it's not doing what it's created to do, the next thing for it to do was they were going to cut it down and burn it. It was just going to be destroyed. And whenever I started looking at that and comparing it to my own life, I started recognizing, what am I created to do? What are my responsibilities? What is the fruit that I'm supposed to do? If we look in the Bible and find out, as I said earlier, Jesus compares us a lot to fruit-producing trees. What is the fruit that I'm supposed to do? And I know we all know the whole fruits of the Spirit: the love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. We know all of those 9 fruits that we're supposed to be producing. And what happens if all of a sudden we're not doing those? This parable really hit me, because it was like Jesus coming up and saying, hey, listen, Doug, you're not producing the fruit. I've planted you in a certain spot. I've done everything I can. You're supposed to be producing fruit. Are you producing fruit? Are you doing what you were created to do? And then I could look at Jesus and say, I know, but life's tough, it's rocky soil here. We talked about soil a couple of weeks ago, but it's rocky soil, it's hard to produce fruit here. And Jesus could say, as he said in this parable, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dig around you and fertilize you. Actually, I read that saying, here's what we're going to do. We're going to mess up your comfortable living. We're going to dig around you, and we're going to dump crap all around the base of your roots. And hopefully that'll make you produce fruit. And I'm thinking, wow, well, that's really not going to help me produce fruit. It's going to put crap all around me. That's a weird analogy, but you get the point. So here's what happens. He starts looking at this, and then he says, I'm going to give you just a little bit longer to start producing fruit. And so I started recognizing this, and I started saying, man, what fruit am I supposed to produce? And I've noticed that whenever I ask God to fertilize me, whenever I ask God to actually cultivate me and spend time, it's most of the time whenever I start going through those things. It's like the joking thing of praying for patience. If you pray for patience, you're going to have to actually learn patience and gentleness. You're going to actually have to learn to be gentle. You're going to be put in those situations to produce that fruit. What I've noticed in this is that Jesus is patient with me. Jesus is putting me in an area that He's planted me in a certain place where I'm supposed to produce fruit. I know what that fruit is. I was created to produce that fruit. And that's what my role is, and that's what my responsibility, that's what my Creator placed on me here. Interesting thing also that I've been studying over the past couple of weeks, one of the main fruits I believe that we are created on this earth and what we're supposed to be doing is we're supposed to be worshiping God in everything that we do. And I think that one of the things that Jesus is talking to the people here about is they were following a list of principles on how to live their life. But my question is, were they truly producing the fruit of worshiping God? And in my life, I know that I can go through those principles. I can wake up every morning and be kind and be gentle. I can just write myself a note and say, Doug, just be gentle today. But the main fruit I believe that we are called to produce is the worshiping God fruit. That's the thing that we're supposed to do in everything, whether or not we're cleaning a toilet or whether or not we're taking a test at school or whether or not we're doing something that our parents ask us to do, or no matter what, we're supposed to be worshiping God. That is the main fruit that we're supposed to be doing. And I think Jesus has given us all just another chance and saying, listen, I'm putting you in this situation so that you might be able to produce this fruit of worship. I recognize that y'all might read through the Bible and might say, wow, you know what, Doug, I've never found this fruit of worship. I'll just let y'all know that I think that's our main calling. I think that as Christians, that was what we're supposed to do in every aspect of our life. We're supposed to worship God. So my challenge for you guys this week is very interesting, and that is to stop and take a look. If you were a tree, if you knew what fruit you were supposed to be producing, the love, joy, peace found in Galatians, if you knew all of those fruits and someone was to look at you and say, hey, how's your fruit? Are you producing that fruit? Would you look and say, you know what? I haven't been. What about the fruit of worship? Have you truly been worshiping God in everything that you're doing? And so my challenge for you guys this week is take a look at yourself, because it might be that someone stepped into your life and God said, hey, listen, I'm going to actually give you another chance. I'm going to cultivate around you. I'm going to put you in situations where you must bear fruit. And some of those might be pretty tough. Some of those might be tough situations. So my challenge for you guys are, spend some time in prayer. Spend some time seeking in your life whether or not that you've been producing the fruit that God's planted you or God's placed you in that situation. Just remember, we're praying for you. We love you and we appreciate you a lot for just tuning in. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to comment, be sure and do it on our Facebook. Until then, we'll see you later. Thanks.